Who says real estate investing has to be boring? Let's talk about a real life deal where the ROI is hot, the strategy is smart, and the investors are just along for the ride.
I love it. That's fantastic. You can come along with me and sell anytime.
Today we have Nicole Rueth of the Rueth team with Movement Mortgage, and we're going to be talking about her Terra investment fund.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, Nicole.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Absolutely.
So just to kick us off, give us an overview of what type of investment project the Terra investment fund is, the project in Estes Park.
So what I do as a lender with Movement Mortgage is separate from Terra Investment Fund. It's structured on the same belief that true wealth can be built through real estate. And so what I was finding is that there was a lot of people who wanted to get into their own real estate investing, but didn't either quite have the confidence, maybe the funds to do it fully on their own, or maybe they lived in an area that wasn't cash flowing as well, and they didn't really want to invest out of state. So Terra Investment Fund was solving a need, and what we look at is larger apartment buildings, typically in the range of 30 to 100 units or doors per project. And we're looking to gather up funds from investors to further our opportunity to buy that project, plus use a small bank loan, and then provide those investors a return over the next 3 to 5 years while turning over the apartment. Typically, we're looking for a value add. We're looking for a forced appreciation where we can go in and upgrade the units, increase the rents, create a more livable space for the tenants, and in essence, create a better win-win for both the tenants and the investors.
Yeah, and so that type of investment project, is that a syndicate, or like what type of investment project does that fall under?
It's typically going to be, it's a fund. It's a fund in the sense of it is a syndicate, but our investors have ownership. So they actually have ownership. They have a fraction of ownership in the sale. So whenever we have the sale, they're going to get the appreciation. So they're going to get cash flow all along the way. And then when we sell it, they're also going to get their percentage based on their investment of the gains on sale.
And so when you're calling it a fund, is it the same thing as a real estate investment trust, a REIT? Or is it a little bit different from that?
I think REITs and syndicates and funds all blend. And I'm sure that there is some level of difference with the terminology,
If
right?
we looked it up,
Yes.
they would have these different dictionary definitions.
Exactly.
But you're saying that they're all very similar.
They are going to be very similar.
Okay.
They are going to be. So I had some money even a decade, 2 decades ago in a REIT, and it was very it was almost like investing in a stock. I invested in this big master REIT, and they invested in turn in commercial buildings, whether it's New York, Chicago, or somewhere in the country. And it was just simply a way to get into, it was almost like getting into that mutual fund environment. This is different because it is local. It is one project at a time. And we are really involving our investors. We had an investor day where everybody came up to the project and did a whole walkthrough. And so we're really saying we're purchasing a property. Let's just take Estes Park. We're looking at a property of $5.4 million. We're going to get a 50% loan. We're trying to raise $3.6 million in order to have the down payment that we need plus some renovation money. Mm-hmm. And so every person that has a percentage of that, they know they're investing in that project in Estes Park. They can go drive to that project in Estes Park. They have a sense of ownership in that.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I kind of want to do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about the key players, because I know, like, I think of it as your project, but I know you're not the only one. And I feel like there was maybe an LLC formed, or maybe it's the fund that was formed. So if you could talk a little bit about the key players and who's kind of managing it. And then I think you probably have like a separate property management company, I would assume, who's running it at this point, plus the investors. I mean, does that describe fully who all's involved?
It does. So we have the LLC that we formed. Brenton Haynes is a commercial broker here in the Denver market. Mm-hmm. And he is also part of a family empire, if you will. They own almost 1,000 doors, all in the Los Angeles area in California. And it started with his dad, the very first apartment building his dad and mom bought when they first got married. And so they've been buying and holding these apartment buildings this whole time. And then the three sons have been kind of brought into this conglomerate, if you will. So Brenton has a ton of experience in the apartment building world. And then he came to Denver and he started his own career, somewhat separate, but still tethered to that. And then wanted to look at doing something different here. And so when I approached him and I said, hey, I really want to do this. I want to move from 4 units to bigger projects. He was the first one I called. And when he said yes, and I was all in, we decided to do a thing. And then we started talking to attorneys about how to set it up. And Grant Vanderyacht is one of the attorneys we talked to, who's absolutely probably one of the most brilliant attorneys I've ever spoken to or worked with. And we ended up bringing him on as a third partner. So now the three of us are equal partners.
Okay,
Yes.
great. That's so nice to know because as I'm talking about the fund
Yes.
with some of my clients, and I'm thinking about investing in it, it's so good to know that like the people who are, involved in the direction of it and what's going on just have so much experience with it and are, such experts in their industries.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, so talk a little bit about how you decide that you're going to go look for an apartment building versus all the other options, right? Like you
Yeah.
could build a fund and you could buy single families or apartment buildings or commercial strip malls or
Yep.
office buildings. I mean, I'm sure the list is just on, right?
It is.
So how did you drill down and decide on, the apartment building is the way we want to go?
Yeah. So I always say that there's as many ways to invest in real estate as there are investors, right? Like everybody can have a spin on it. Everybody can choose a product and then even divide that differently. So how we decided on apartment buildings really is because when I had gotten into investing, it was because of the people I was around at the time that I started buying four units, fourplexes. And I would say that if I was around other people, I might have gotten into Airbnb or I might have gotten into condos or any number of the other options. But the people I was around, they were investing in 4 units. So my very first investment I got into, it kind of landed that way. And so I had built up my investment personal portfolio with either single families for my kids. I bought a house for my mom, and then I had the 4 units. So when I talked to Brenton about wanting to get bigger, that was what I knew. And when he came at it from his perspective, his entire family, that's all he knew was apartment buildings. Now, he's a commercial broker, so he helps people with warehouses and strip malls and commercial buildings. And from our perspective, we knew apartment buildings. We knew how much per door made sense. We knew how to renovate per door. We knew how to model it. We had the spreadsheet. We knew what kind of cap rate we were shooting for. So I don't think that there's a one investment idea that's better or worse. You could say that there's definitely certain products that are having a harder time in this market than other products, right? You might say that, versus an office building versus a strip mall versus other things. In order to maximize your doors and maximize your equity, it's really hard to do that with a single family unless you can rent out the room separately or split it up into a 2-unit or rent out an ADU. That's where you start to get more capital and increasing your cash flow. But when I looked at it, the fourplex made a lot of sense because I could rent out 2 to 2.5 doors and still pay for the entire unit because it was one loan for 4 units. This is one loan for 36 doors. So if we have 3 to 5 doors vacant, I don't love that. But at the same time, we can still pay all the bills. And so you have a better opportunity to maximize your returns. So we did it because number one, we knew it. Number two, there's always a need for, especially a Class C, lower Class B apartment living. Like you look around the metro and you're seeing all this growth in these brand new apartments, and that's great. But a lot of them are just out of reach when it comes to rents because some people don't need all the amenities. So we're creating more of a workforce housing where people can afford it on a regular income, and we have multiple doors to maximize the returns that we're giving our investors.
Yeah, so it sounds like, and I know I talked about this on another video somewhere else, but what I was saying about this real estate investing is that sometimes it really is a lot about who you know and connections that you make that can have way more of an impact on your real estate investing than how much money do I have to put into something.
Agreed.
But of course, you're investing, so you need to have some money to put somewhere. What was when you guys were looking for investors, what was the minimum buy-in to that project?
So we were doing $50,000 was the minimum. We did have a handful of people that had 25,000 to contribute, and we included them.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, 25,000, you could potentially get into a single family home for about that much. You definitely could with the 50,
Yes.
but then you're very hands-on. You're managing it or hiring a property management company. And I think the rate of return is just not the same as when you're looking at 36 doors versus one, right?
No, and with the 25,000, you're looking at a primary home. So you're moving into it. And so, yes, you can move out of it in a year and you could turn it into a rental, but it's not going to start getting you cash flow right away unless you're into the house hacking and roommates and that kind of lifestyle, co-living, which can generate a ton of income in a single family home. But if you're just living in that home, you're not really gaining anything unless you're using it as a stepping stone, which I love that idea of constantly buying another property every year to 18 months. But this is, yes, you're putting that money, you're putting it to work right away. This particular apartment building modeled out at a 19.5% internal rate of return every year. We were doubling everybody's investment in 5 years. So while that looked really exciting during the pandemic, that's not a realistic number for traditional real estate. So you're not going to double your money, your investment in 5 years with a single family home.
Right. Yeah. I was shocked during COVID over those 2 years when I had seen some properties appreciate by 50%. And I just thought, this is nuts. But you're saying that in this type of project, like the 36-door apartment building in Estes Park, that in 5 years is projected to double. So,
Agreed.
and I don't know what return rates are in the stock market right now, because that's what everybody will say, right? Well, where's the best place to put my money? I could get higher returns here or there, but 50% in 5 years feels like a lot.
It's a pretty decent rate of return. You're talking about a 20% a year. So you very well, I mean, the Nvidia story, other stories within the stock market, the cryptocurrency story, you're seeing massive amounts of money being made. Now, it's not to say you can't. The problem is most people don't. It's how good is your chooser? Are you choosing the Nvidia 3 years ago? Are you choosing cryptocurrency before anybody believed that it could ever be a thing, right? So that's the kind of thing or do you get in and you just get those stable rate of returns? So I believe in diversification. I don't know that I would have all of my money, everything I've got in this one thing, but most people have a 401k. Most people have an IRA, or they have some money in the equities market. So if you have some money in the equities market, maybe you dabble in cryptocurrency. And then if you don't have the ability to put your own money in any substantial manner in an investment, then you put it into something like this fund.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree about the diversification. It's something I talk about a lot. Like, if you're renting somewhere, then you want to get in where you're paying your own mortgage down as a foundational part of building up your financial portfolio. And then, yes, we love real estate investing, right? Partly because we know it, like you said.
Yeah, I know well.
We chose the apartment buildings because we knew this and that about it. So, that's why I like real estate investing, because I know it. But I also, am not going to tell people, don't do a 401k or have these other mutual funds or, a 529 college plan.
Right.
Whatever it is, all of those different things I think are important. The Bitcoin, I even have a little bit of Bitcoin. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how's that going from the time, like, how long has it been now? How far into that project are you? Like a year and a half or something?
Gosh, not even quite a year. So we
Okay.
bought it in December of 24. So we have been on a massive, we have been going through each unit as well as the common areas and then the entire project space. So this particular project is 36 units. It's 3 separate buildings of 12 condos each. So they're actually individually deeded. So we can sell off each unit if we wanted to. We could take one of the buildings of 12 units and we can condoize them, or they're actually already condos. We could just sell them off individually. Now, I think that they'd be best served as apartments being rented out, but this particular project had phenomenal options when it came to how we sold it. So we could either sell it as a 36 unit, we could sell it as 3 12 units, we could sell it as a 12 and 24, or we could sell them as individually 36 units, depending on what the market looks like in 5 years, because some things you can't predict. So it really gives us the options that if there wasn't an investor that could handle all 3 buildings, maybe we could sell it to 3 smaller investors. So we looked at all of that. So this first year has been nothing but bringing up the lifestyle and the livability for our tenants. Yes. And so we've spent a good portion, not quite half of the money that we raised specifically for the renovations. We redid the grounds, we redid the pavement, we redid the trash enclosures, like all of that. And then we've redone 9 of the 36 units.
So far, yeah. And so do you expect by the end of the 5 years to have renoed all 36 of those?
We'll probably have renovated about 27. The whole idea with also renovating is you want forced appreciation. So we want to push up the value of the apartment building outside of just the market appreciation. So we want forced appreciation, but then we also want to leave some meat on the bone for the next investor. So you don't want to push it all the way up so that they don't walk into any of their own forced appreciation.
Oh, yes. I had forgotten about that. I learned that from a GC or somebody who did fix and flips, and they said, well, we always leave something that's not done yet. Like we leave like a secondary bathroom or something, and we just don't do that because then the person who comes in to buy it feels like they have a project that they can do.
Yes.
Which is so funny because, you know, in this market, we're always talking about everybody wants all brand new stuff. Yeah.
Well, if it's I'm going into it as a home, I want it all done. But if I'm going into investment, I'm looking at, can I bring the value further up at this time? Am I getting a deal?
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants a deal.
Everybody wants a deal.
Yes.
So when you might have answered this earlier, but my last question about it is, you know, when are you thinking about doing the next project? Are you already looking for one?
We are already looking for one. I'm getting super excited because this one now we have a property manager. We know now we have a footprint. We know exactly what it takes to remodel every single unit. We know what to check for. We know what the pitfalls has been. We had some lessons learned. We chose some wrong contractors. We spent a little bit too much on the first couple of units, like all the things. But so now we've got all the common areas done and we're moving through the units pretty simply and fast. And so with that, now I'm like, okay, now we can turn our attention to the next one. Our goal is in fourth quarter 2025, we're going to start raising funds and go after. We have a couple that were already in mind. We're going to stay in the Colorado area, so definitely stay tuned. We'll be raising money and buying the next one.
All right, that sounds good. I'm definitely staying tuned.
Yes. I'm excited.
Thanks so much for being here, Nicole. Again, this is Nicole Rueth with the Rueth team at Movement Mortgage, and we were just talking about Terra Investment Fund. So thanks so much for sharing all of that. I think it's such interesting information for people to be aware that there's opportunities like that out there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And here locally.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like this content and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go.